What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach Shoemaker, and joining me today is a man who is 8-2 with 5 KOs. He's a heavyweight, and that's Jeamie TKV. Jeamie, I appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
No, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I know you already have to be well aware of the results now. I know it went to the BBFC, and you guys are coming off a very controversial victory for David Adelaide, to say the least. But obviously, now we know there's going to be a rematch, and you've seen the results. You know what's going to happen. What's your thoughts now that you've heard all the results and what's going to come to fruition from that?
We got the rematch. It's a bit difficult to get a fight that to get the results overturned. So the only thing that we got to now get right second fight, but the fact that we got a rematch, the blessing in itself. So yeah, good.
Here, one second. You're kind of cutting in and out right now. Here, I'll go to a quick break, see if we can fix something real quick.
Good.
From the moment I was born, a ball was in my hands and a deep passion for sports was ignited. My dream was to play the game. Welcome back, everyone, to the SchuZ Show. We're going to restart that interview a little bit now, so make sure everyone can hear everyone perfectly now. So, with that being said, though, I have a very special guest joining me today. He is coming off a controversial loss, to say the least, but that is a man that is 8-2, 5 KOs, Jeamie TKV. Jeamie, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Now, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I just talk about this, man. You're a part of what is likely going to be one of the most controversial moments of the year, and unfortunately, and for me, I'm against it. But you do have a loss in your win and your loss column now because of that. But you know the results. They're not going to overturn it. They're not going to make it a no contest. But you guys do get a rematch. Is this what you're hoping for? What's your thoughts on the overall verdict? What happened there?
It's especially in with the British board, it's very hard to overturn the results. So either way, it's a blessing to get a rematch because I get a second chance to make it right.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to kind of go through this because, like I said, I mean, this is already probably the most controversial thing. I think the only thing up there with is probably the Tank Davis gel situation. Everyone went on down there, but we look at this fight. This is the one that was actually impactful on the fighter in your situation. And in my opinion, I thought it was handled poorly from the start. I think it should have just been a lot of things could have been handled inside the ring. Outside of it, obviously, you guys do get the rematch though. But can you take us through when you're in the ring? This all goes down. What's going through your mind?
So early on, the referee was obviously giving me a bit of stick. Just even if Adelaide did something, I'll be the one getting in trouble. I'll be the one getting the telling off. So it got to a point where Adelaide did something and I got the telling off, and I must have did something and I still got the telling off. But it got to the point where he said, if you carry on or if something else happens again, I'm taking a point. So at that point, I became very obedient to what the referee was saying. So
Mhm.
at that point, in the sixth round, he came in, I dipped low, and he grabbed my arm. And the
Mhm.
referee's only talking to me. He's pulling my arm, telling me to let go, but I'm showing him I'm not holding. He keeps pulling my arm, saying he's going to take a point. So as he's pulling my arm, obviously I open my arm because at this point I've become very obedient, not trying to get a point taken off. I open my arms to show him that I'm not holding, but Adelaide took his opportunity and threw his shot. But the referee had a hold of my arm. I thought, I thought he was going to break it, but he didn't. And Adelaide threw the shot after the referee did say break, and
Twice too.
whatever happened, happened. Yeah, twice. So, yeah, it's a funny situation. But like, even when I got up, I was thinking, what I was saying, he hit me on the break, but obviously the referee carried on counting, and even when he threw his shots, he pushed me over, fell over. But my team told me take the 8 count. Even when I got up, I wasn't hurt. I wasn't out of it, but that first shot did put me down. But I wasn't
Yeah.
out of it for him to stop the fight. But that was going through my mind. Like he hit me with a sneaky shot, and
Mhm.
he's got the win.
Exactly. I think when you talk about boxing, it's obviously a very mental sport too. You have to be locked in and focused. And I'm sure that there had to be some rattling in that situation where you said, okay,
Mm,
I thought I'm going for a break. And everyone that's either fought for some kind of rounds in sparring, or at least you still watch enough boxing, you know
yeah,
that that shot probably would not have knocked you down if you were prepared for and you're ready to embrace for that hit.
exactly.
That's when you're not looking, you're not expecting a punch that has a different impact. And I think that's why you ended up being dropped there.
Yeah,
And so I'm sure in your mind, all of a sudden you got all kind of stuff going on now. You're like, what the heck just happened? That should not have occurred.
mhm,
How did you, and I know the fight
exactly.
didn't last too much longer, but still, how did you even try to get the mental composure to continue? Obviously, when everything just kind of became chaotic now.
Yeah, do you know what's crazy? I've had 10 pro fights,
Hmm.
72 amateur fights. I've never been knocked down. I've sparred some of the top guys, world champions, never
Yeah.
been knocked down. So this is the first time it's happened to me. So it's like I remember when it happened, it was like a flash. And
Mm.
then I remember obviously my vision coming back to me, but it's happening quickly. So
Yeah.
flash and coming back to me. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe that happened. And it's the first time it's ever happened. Obviously, I got up. Um, yeah, it was just new to me. It was new to my body. Maybe I made some mistakes. Maybe looking at my corner a bit too much is quite, yeah, it's quite new to me. I've never been knocked down. So I think I made a few mistakes. I could
Sure.
have done things a bit different. So that's something that I would work on, an area that I would work on of how to deal with a situation like that. And I've learned.
Okay.
But just like you said, I was relaxed, legs straight. I did not see the shot. If I did see the shot, like I was throughout the fight, I was catching the shots. Like it wasn't doing nothing to me.
Yeah.
But when he threw the shot, which I didn't see, well, it did what it did. But listen, look, I'm confident because he hit me relaxed, legs straight, and I wasn't knocked out.
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of people would have gone to sleep, and I wasn't knocked
Yep.
out. So I
That's
take
a point.
confidence in that in itself.
And I think when you look back at that situation, like I said, I think inside the ring, the ref could have handled the situation better. In my opinion, he could have given you, I know typically it's reserved for low blows, but he could have given you a 5 minutes break. We could have obviously looked
Yeah.
at that. Or at the moment, I mean, he could have looked, I know they don't have replay out there, but you guys could have just looked at the big board, noticed that, hey, that
Hmm.
was illegal, no contest on the spot. We'll rematch this later on another date.
Yeah.
When you guys were going on, I think we've all seen the videos, but obviously we don't know the audio and whatnot. But we saw your trainer, Ben Davis, and we saw yourself, we saw your corner. People weren't very happy to say the least, and rightfully
Of
so.
course.
When you were just going through that moment, you're like, okay, well, now I have a loss on my resume, and this is obviously debatable. I mean, yeah, it's a loss, but maybe you would have lost
Yeah.
the fight. Who knows what would have happened? But when you just talk about that aspect, what would you have preferred? How would you prefer the situation to have been handled if you could have go back and you could have talked to the ref and you think it should have been handled?
Just like you said, like maybe a 5 minute break
Hmm.
for me to recover from that shot,
Yep.
um, or maybe just to have it reviewed to see if it was a foul shot. Maybe a point taken off if it was a foul shot
Hmm.
from the referee's perspective. Um, Yeah, no, I just feel like it could have been dealt better. You know,
Agree.
the referee was a bit dismissive. The corner kept telling him, "You said break." He lied at first, said he didn't. Then he admitted it after.
Mm-hmm.
Then when my team asked for him to do something, he said, "Go away." So he was very dismissive.
Okay.
Um, yeah, he wasn't on my side from the beginning and until that point. He literally wasn't on my side. And yeah, it was a losing game with the referee, so there wasn't no talking to him.
So I'm guessing you're probably hoping that Ron Curie is not the guy refereeing your next fight.
Oh, not at all. I hope not. But we see a lot of mistakes with a lot of referees.
That's
Not
true.
every referee is perfect. Like
Agree.
a lot of referees do make mistakes, so I feel like there needs to be a retraining, or they need to go through training again
Or at
and
least have
have things.
accountability.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I I do things. Some rules need to be put into place because some fights get stopped early nowadays. Not giving a fighter a chance to come back to. Um, just mistakes like that referee made on my night. Just
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things we see it all the time. There's a lot of mistakes made, but there needs to be something put in place that can prevent mistakes like that.
Now, I had Andy Clark on here last week, and he was discussing this whole fight and everything. And I asked him the same question I want to ask you now, and that is over in the BBC, and when you guys are fighting over there, you guys don't have instant review. Now, some countries have implemented that where you can go instant review. That's not allowed over there yet. Is that something
Yeah,
you would be in favor of, allowing instant review so that you guys can review situations just like what happened to you?
of course, because in the heat of the moment, even the referee, he doesn't see everything. In that
Yep.
heat of the moment, you miss a lot of stuff. As fighters, we do too. So it's good to have a replay just so we can
Hmm.
make the right decision.
Yep. Agree.
Just like I've mentioned many times before, like in football, soccer, the VAR, you know, instant sorry, instant replay, so we can see what's happened,
Yep.
and then from then on, the referee is allowed to make a decision, and I think that should be implemented in boxing.
100% agree. Now, I did mention that the BBFC has summoned referee Ron Kier to explain his actions during the controversial fight. I just want to know. I mean, I don't even know what they're going to really discuss there. I mean, at that point, it's so far advanced from when the fight actually happened. But I
Yeah.
mean, what do you think is even going to happen from that? Just discuss to him, or what do you think? What would you like to see have happen in that summoning?
Uh, Look, like I've said, if that's what pays his bills, I don't want no one put on a ban. Yeah.
Agree. Yeah.
What I think should happen is that he should go through like training,
Agree.
extra
I like that.
training, just so he don't make mistakes again. But it doesn't mean that he should stop being a referee or they ban him from being a referee. I
Agree.
still think he should ref, but should be retrained so he can make the right decisions next time
I like
around.
that. Well, the good news is, let's get to that portion. Is that okay? You guys do get a rematch now, so this fight you can redeem yourself, obviously. And I don't believe the fight
Yeah.
date's locked in yet. But is there a time span that you're thinking this could happen? Like, are we maybe looking June, July, summertime, early fall, or when can we possibly? Do you think even any rumors yet? Or do you have any about when this rematch could occur?
There's no rumors yet, but
Okay,
an ideal time will probably be the summer, just like you said, those dates, July, hopefully August,
sure.
latest probably September, because the fight has to happen between now till until September. So
Okay, so
yeah,
it's pretty much a time span that has to happen between then.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, there is a couple of opportunities that could come from a fight. If you let's say you win there, whoever at least does win that fight, there's been rumors. We just had a big fight this past weekend. Fraser Clark came out. He called out the winner of you two. That would obviously be a huge fight for either one of you guys. I know another
Mm-hmm,
guy that's been out there, possibly Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen. They're going to have their
mm-hmm,
rematch coming up shortly. You guys could possibly do that fight. If
yeah.
let's say you do win that fight, I know you're not going to get too ahead of yourself, but if you do get out of this fight against David Adelale, is there a guy you prefer to fight? Is there a guy like Fraser Clark or Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen winner? Like, who would you want to fight if there was an opportunity you could choose between?
The thing is, I don't mind who I fight. Whoever's put in front of me
Okay.
and it makes sense, I'll fight.
Hmm.
There's no one I would turn down. So yeah, so any of them, if they obviously, well, I guess Clark is waiting for us now,
Sure.
but then there's Dave. I mean, Dave Allen and Johnny Fisher too. So
Yep.
just go weigh up the options and which way. like which way we go makes sense. It just depends on what's happening at the time, the weather, the climate. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep, absolutely,
just
man.
gotta wait and see.
Well, let's say you do get to this fight, and at least for the good news, that you maybe don't have a date locked in, but you know who you're fighting next. And so I have to ask you now. I'm sure you've already rewatched the film. You know the improvements you could make from rounds 1 to 6 up until the issue occurred, and even in the issue,
Yeah,
you already admitted to.
yeah.
What do you think the prediction will be in that fight between you and David Adeleo coming up then with sometime in the next few months? What's your prediction on that fight?
Look, I believe I win it. Like I was winning it last time. It was getting easier as the rounds got on.
Okay.
I do believe it's going to be the same, and I know exactly what to do to make it even a better performance. I
Hmm.
feel like there's always an adjustment that needs to be made to be better. There's always improvements that needs to be made, and I know what to do exactly to make that fight better the second time around and really showcase my skill set.
So, what would you say is probably some of the biggest things you learned then outside of just how to deal with the situation? Let's say, hopefully, never happens again, but if like
Of course.
situation you already admitted to how you would learn there, but what's some other things you feel like you've improved on now?
Uh, just dealing with um, a situation as big as this,
Okay.
like a lot of people be down about a situation like this, but I took, I
Mhm.
looked at it and I took the positives in, kicked out the negatives, and I feel like that's gonna help me along my journey. Just
Mhm.
having a strong mental. It's helping me build my mental in a strong way. It's weird saying it the way I'm saying it, but
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
obviously I understand. I hope you
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
understand and everyone else watching, but it's helping me build my mental in a strong way.
All right, so I do have to ask you though. We go back before the fight happened. You're in a press conference, and there's quite the scene that you end up creating there by flipping a table over. So I have to ask about what happened there because that's another one of those viral moments in boxing this year so far. Because that was a good table flip. I'm not gonna lie. So you got to walk us through this. Was that planned by you? Does that just happen in the moment, or you got to give us a story behind why you flipped the table?
Do you know what? He was punching the table. He was slamming the table. He was trying to intimidate everyone
Hmm.
because I pissed him off. I got him frustrated. So he was slamming the table, slamming the table. But he was doing it continuously. So I said, you know what? I got to get him back. So as he was talking, I said, I'm going to do one better. Punched it and flipped it up. But it was just the heat of the moment. That's the best way to explain it, you know? Because he was slamming the table. I said, you know what? I'm going to flip it. So, yeah, that was it.
So you had no intention that morning when you woke up of flipping a table,
Not
then?
at all. Not at all. But I did have the intentions to get on his nerves. That's for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
And you are pretty good at that because that's not the first time you've done those type of things. So you got to take us through
Yeah.
just your mindset. No talking to you already. I can see that can kind of be your personality. You're really sharp with it. You know your words quickly. Has
Yeah.
that always been your personality? Have you always been a guy that should get under people's skin?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Uh, the only reason why I do it is because the other person starts it. I promise you,
Okay.
if even if you look back on everyone that I'm arguing with or having issues with,
Sure.
they've started it. Whether it be Clark, he started it. He I forgot what he said on. Well, he disrespected me on TV. So
Okay.
disrespected me for no reason. Um, I remember Harry Armstrong. He disrespected me for no reason. I thought he was gonna be cool because I know him as well. Just like I don't disrespect like Adelaide disrespecting me for no reason, walking about saying he's gonna knock me out. Like for me, I took that personally because we know each other as well.
Mm.
Um, like I never started. But I am gonna give it back. I'm not gonna lay down for you to disrespect me. So that's just me.
Now I know you've had to rewatch that table flip a couple of times now. How good do you think that was, and would you do it again if you could go back in time?
Of course, I'll do it every time. But hopefully they don't start bolting the tables because I look very silly if I try to throw a table and it's bolted to the floor.
Good point. Absolutely, man. Well, there's another fight I gotta get into in your career because there's another loss that you had early in your career, and that was another one that was very, very debated, obviously. And that was when you had the big cut underneath your eye. And once
Mm-hmm.
again, that was one of the craziest cuts I've ever seen before. And so you gotta
Yeah,
take us to that fight because once again, both your losses came off of very interesting
contribute.
losses. It wasn't just
Yeah,
a
yeah,
clear cut like you got KO'd or you got just lost some points. You had a very controversial one. Another one was because of a cut. Walk
yeah,
us through that fight because that was a scary fight. I mean, that's a cut that looked like it could have possibly damaged your eye. I mean, there could have been repercussions
yeah.
from that. What was that fight like?
do you know what? Yeah, I did things outside the ring. Not saying I was being unprofessional,
Hmm.
but I did things that thought would benefit my performance,
Okay.
like in terms of my diet and stuff. Um, I just did things wrong, and I didn't think it was gonna affect me in the ring. As soon as I got in that ring, I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel sharp.
Mm.
And as soon as he was hitting me, it was like he was slicing me. So it's like I couldn't fight. Like my mind was all over the place. I'm like, okay, I don't feel great, but what the hell is this guy hitting me? Like he's hitting me with something that's slicing me. So it wasn't the greatest performance overall, but eventually I was trying to come back. But then that feeling of getting sliced got to me, and he actually sliced my eyebrow with a right hand.
Hmm.
But then we looked at his gloves. It was very odd,
Yeah.
especially when you come in with your own custom made gloves. You're supposed to give us one just to see if we want to use the same, or it goes through the board and never. Sorry, not goes through the board, but I forgot the name. The whip. It
Okay.
probably goes through the whip, and they check it out. We never got a chance to check out the gloves. When we went to check his hand wraps, he went missing, hard to find. Um, yeah, it was a bit difficult. So obviously, when that happened, I said, "You know what? Let's not make excuse. It happened. I made mistakes too, but obviously." There was something funky about the gloves because as soon as he was hitting me, I had a cut on my arm from catching the shots, which is weird. That who
Yeah.
gets cuts when their arms catching shots, which is why we called for the board to check the gloves, but there wasn't much that happened after that.
And I didn't know that portion. I knew there was a lot of controversy about people saying, okay, was something weird? Because that type of cut is not a normal cut. I mean, obviously, we see it
Very
from Clash
weird.
of Heads, but very rarely do you see that type of cut to any. I mean, very rarely we even see that type of cut, period, but let alone from just a
Yeah.
straight shot. When you did give the gloves to the board, then were they able to review them, or what all happened at all? Do you even know what happened there?
Um, I heard they was able to review it, and they they said that the glove weighed the right amount. I think what 10 ounces or
Sure.
whatever ounces it was, but the gloves look very worn out. They look like they've been used before, which is where the concern came from. The fact that it
Okay.
looked like it was old.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been tampered with, but what do we know?
Fair enough. So, in your opinion, do you think there probably was something that happened with those gloves then, because to cause the cuts even on your arms?
Yeah, yeah, nah, definitely something off. But if, I mean, if you can't if you can't prove it,
Fair
there's
enough.
so much you can say. So
Yep.
it's just my word against his word or his word. But I made sure I stayed quiet, didn't speak about it too much. I just spoke about my own performance because that's where I went wrong.
Yep.
Accountability. I don't care about what he tried to do because if I was on my A game, he wouldn't been able to lay a glove on me. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact I wasn't on, the fact I wasn't on my A game allowed him to do what he did.
I respect that a ton, because when I was even researching the cut and everything like that, I saw things on Reddit and stuff that people were discussing controversy, but I never found you saying anything specifically. And so that's obviously what I
Yeah,
want to ask you a little bit about then. So you have a mentality though where you say, okay, yeah, stuff might have happened that's outside of my control, but I still need to focus in on myself and how I get better.
exactly.
Is that something
Yeah.
that you were always born with? Did you develop that as you got older, or what kind of brought that self accountability upon yourself?
Uh, I guess it's just me being a part of the sport.
Okay,
It just happens. It just happens, and in this sport, there's a lot of heartbreak. You
that's
know,
true.
and if you let these heartbreaks and if you let these heartbreaks get you down and make excuses, you're not gonna improve. I'm always looking for improvement. So if I can take accountability and work on that, I can always improve and move away from that mistake that I've made. So accountability is very key in this sport.
100% agree, man. Well, I want to turn to your career a little bit more. And you talked about your amateur career. You had a very solid amateur career. And then you turned pro, but you didn't turn pro up until 2022. Can you take us to that thought process? Like, why was it until that point in time? 'Cause I think you were 27, 28 years old at that point in time. Why was it at that time that you said, okay, I'm ready to turn pro now at this age?
To be honest, I was ready to turn pro in 2019,
Okay.
and then I had the opportunity to join the Congolese national boxing team. So I thought, you
Mm.
know what, let me give it a go. And then the opportunity to go to the Olympics came. I said, you know what, I'm going
Okay.
to do this. I was ranked number 9 in the world,
Hmm.
I got robbed in the final of the African Games, and the guy that got robbed by in the final ended up going to Olympics just because of that fight. Because
Hmm.
COVID kind of stopped the qualifications, so they
Yeah.
had to
Okay.
choose one. I was a silver medalist, and he was a gold medalist. But funny thing is, that was supposed to be overturned. Like all the judges on that day, that fight, got dismissed. Like none of them were allowed to judge for a while until it got overturned. But after COVID, all of that got shut down.
Mm.
And then he ended up still going to the Olympics. So I missed out on a small margin. I was supposed to turn pro
Wow.
24, 25, but because of that process,
Okay.
COVID, ended up turning pro the age I did, 27, then 28.
If
And
you
then
were to
this
go
one.
back, would you still do that same route? Would you still have gone through? I mean, obviously, the thing got screwed over and whatnot, but just the experience of
Mm.
still being able to try to compete for the Olympics. Would you go back and still do the same thing you did? Or if you could go back in time, would you want to turn pro when you're younger?
No, I would have done the same thing.
Okay.
I met some great people, some lifelong friends,
Okay.
an
Awesome.
amazing experience that is second to none, man. Best experience I've ever had was doing that
Really?
process.
Okay.
So I don't regret it, man. I'm happy I actually did it.
Okay.
And if I had turned pro earlier, I don't think I would have still been a pro now
Okay.
because it was harder back then. I feel like it's easier now. There's a lot more opportunities.
Why is that, would you say?
I don't know. Just when I turned pro, um, Eddie Hearn had left Sky, Boxer
Hmm.
came in, and there was a lot more opportunities.
True.
Um, a lot of promoters started coming about. The Zone was working with a lot of small hall promotions, so
Hmm.
a lot more opportunities started coming. But the only difference is I'm in harder fights earlier than those who were boxing back then.
Good point.
Like
Yep.
if you look up at my resume, I'm having fights which I should be having in my 15th or 20th fight, but I'm
Hmm.
having them earlier. I guess it's a different climate of boxing because when you're boxing on a big platform, they want to see you in big fights. They ain't
Yep.
got time for you to be knocking out people that they don't really care about.
True.
So it's a bit difficult. All of us are in the same boat. Even the Fraser Club, like all of us, like we don't have the luxury of knocking out 15, 20 journeymen and then fighting hard fights. We fight hard fights quite early.
Yep.
So it's different.
And it's actually something I want to ask you about because, especially on the heavyweight scene, I mean, obviously America's probably got depth on other weight divisions a little bit more, just because it's so much the bigger country, obviously. But at heavyweight, I think you guys got America by quite a bit. You guys have the top guys. You guys have a lot of depth as well in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, yeah.
America's struggling in that sense, and I think that when you look at the way that to start off the gate, I think when you look at promoters, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren work really well together. That's not so
Mm.
much the case in America. There's still a lot of tension between a lot of promoters, and it's not
Yeah.
really coming together. So that component, but also, like you said, there's a lot more guys in depth because they're fighting guys earlier on. Can you just take us through, like, because I really feel like the heavyweight division is great right now over there. Like I said, so much
Mm.
talent up top. Obviously, people know Fury, people know AJ, people know those type of guys, but then you got your so much depth as well. Can you just take us through what it's like being a part of this really good overall heavyweight division out there?
It's a blessing because people are gonna look back at this era of heavyweight boxing and we are a part of history.
Yep.
And it's amazing being a part of that. There's a lot of talent all across the board, man, and there's
Yep.
a lot more coming up that will
Hmm.
catch up. So yeah, it's a great period for British boxing in general,
Yep.
or heavyweight boxing. So
Hmm.
yeah,
There's a
it's a
guy
good
you
period.
talked about, I think, on an interview a little bit ago, Mostly Toma, who, in my opinion, is the number one prospect in all boxing. If you want to call him prospect, Dex
Facts.
under 25, whatever it is, however you want to describe it, I think he's
Mm.
that guy. Can you take us through just how? I mean, we see heavyweights. A lot of those guys don't get going until they're the 25 plus. We see a lot of times that they get, like we saw Jared
Mm.
Anderson last year go fight with Coley. You could tell he was not ready for that moment yet. But he's so young, and I know he hasn't fought a guy like Bacoli or those type of guys yet, but I think he's going to be A-okay pretty shortly now. Can you
Hmm.
just take us through how special of a talent he is?
Oh, he's a special talent. I've known him from when he was 11,
Really? Okay.
beating up grown men.
At
So
11?
yeah, at 11, like, how can you go home and tell your wife that you're getting beaten up by 11-year-old? It's crazy. But he's been a talent from young,
Hmm.
and like, it's not a surprise that he's even better now. Because he was a talent then, he's getting better, and he's a big talent now.
Hmm.
And the fact that he's only 20 is scary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he hasn't even got his man strength yet. Let's be real. He ain't got his man strength yet, and look what he's doing.
Yep.
Just wait until he gets his man strength. It's game over. He'll be dominating the game for a while.
And that's the one thing I said. I think everyone knows, especially in the heavyweight division, you need that man strength. I said we just saw Jared Anderson didn't look so well against him. And I think Atoma was much better than Jared Anderson, but still, that
Mm-hmm.
man strength is very, very key, especially at the heavyweight division.
Yeah.
So there's been rumors floating around now that we could possibly see Atoma fight a guy like Usyk later this year. I'm not sure if that's a little too early or not, but what are your thoughts? Like, do you think he's ready for a world championship fight as soon as this year, 2025, or do you think he's going to be ready to take over come 2026, 2027 time and on?
I actually do believe Toma's ready for Usyk.
Okay.
You know, I believe he's got a lot of power. I know he's got a lot of power. Everyone sees it. He's got a lot of power, and he'll be able to handle himself in there.
Okay.
And he's very smart. He's very skillful, and he's very smart, and he's strong. That's a dangerous fighter. Um, I know he'll do well with Usyk if he gets that opportunity.
Okay. So do you think when you look at him, obviously we said Fury, AJ have kind of been the headline guys of this past era, then we go all the way back. Every era has that guy. How good do you think Atoma can be when you look at his career? If we were to talk again in 15 years, 10 years, like how much do you think this guy can accomplish?
A lot. I think he can win everything.
Okay. Wow.
I believe he can even go undefeated if he
Okay.
really wanted to, because he is very hard to beat. From
Hmm.
as you can see already, and he's only going to get better, so he'll be even harder to beat. So
Yeah.
yeah, special talent.
So I wanted to jump back into your career a little bit, and you have a special trainer in Ben Davison, who I have great respect for. I mean, we've seen his body work, what he's done. You've been associated with him for a while.
I'm Barry Smith. Don't forget that's who I work with mainly,
Okay,
and then
gotcha.
we're in the gym with Ben.
Gotcha. So you guys kind of do a little bit of combination led by Barry.
Yeah,
So can you
yeah,
take us
yeah,
through
yeah,
this?
yeah.
Gotcha. So can you kind of take us through those guys and just how big a role have they played in your career, and just take us to get to know how, like, just the impact they've had on growing you as a fighter now.
They've improved my boxing IQ,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important in this game, and just my boxing in general, man. They're very good trainers. They're very experienced. I don't see. I obviously don't want to disrespect other trainers, but they're really good trainers. That's the best way I can put it, man.
Fair
Especially with
enough.
Lee Wiley, who does the breakdowns. Very good.
Okay.
Like there's a very good setup over at Ben Davis's Performance Center, and I don't see any other trainers, or I could go to any other gym that have the same type of setup that they do.
So can you kind of
Like,
break down how it works out then? Because I know you just said, I know Barry Smith, your league guys you just alluded to. I know Ben Davison's the guy a lot of people kind of talk about alongside you guys. So how does that work? Do you guys kind of just work together? They both fit at the gym at the same time, or how does the system kind of work between you and them?
so everyone has their own time.
Yeah.
Um, I'll be working with Barry like most of the time,
Gotcha.
but obviously when I'm fighting a specific fight, I'll get advice from Ben Davis and to do certain things. If he
Okay.
feels like he needs to work on me with something, he'll work with me. The same with Lee Wiley, but mainly I work with Barry Smith.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, there's another guy that you've been able to train with, and you've had quite a few big sparring partners you talked about a little bit earlier. One of which you're sparring with Anthony Joshua last year in his preparation for the Ngannou fight. Can you take us through sparring guys like him? I know you also went in the lab and was working with Fabio a little bit ago too. When you get in there, can you take us through how those sparring sessions have been going?
Yeah, it's good sparring. I mean, I help them where it needs to be, but with Fabio, we help each other for camps. With
Hmm.
AJ, is he calls me in for scam. I'm
Okay,
sorry, he calls me in for camps. I can't call in AJ.
fair enough.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. He calls me in for camp, and but usually he has three sparring partners.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends on where he puts me in, but he usually has three sparring partners, so he can do 12 rounds.
Hmm.
And With Fabio, we help each other. Like we help each other out every camp. Um, yeah, so my last camp, he helped me out a little bit. The camp before, for his last fight, I helped him. We just help each other. Yeah, we help each other out.
That's the main one I want to get into is Fabio because I know that's the most recent one you've been sparring with him a little bit. And I just have to imagine that had to be some crazy sparring going down between you two guys. Both heavy hitters, both big time guys. What were those sparring sessions like when you guys get in? I know you're trying to help each other out too at the same time, but what are those sparring sessions like between you two?
I'll be honest with you, we work on stuff.
Yeah,
At times we'll be throwing shots, but
sure.
we literally just work on stuff. That's what we're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just working on stuff. There's no disrespecting each other in the ring. We're just boxing as teammates. Yeah.
All right, so I got a few more things I want to wrap talking with you about, and some of that is that you obviously are across the sea over there, out there in the British boxing scene. And there's some big fights going on right now that I just got to get your prediction on, pick your mind a little bit on boxing scale. One of which is we have a fight that got announced between the guy we just talked about, Fabio Wardley, Jarrell Miller, coming up in a couple months now. What's your thoughts and prediction on that fight?
Fabio, KO, 100%. Fabio.
And then you got this weekend, we have the big headline fighting, Chris Eubank, Conor Benn. Who do you have winning that fight?
Oh, do you know what? I want Conor Benn to win, so I'm going to say Conor Benn.
Is there a reason that you want him to win?
He's a good guy, man. Out of both of them, as a person, people's person, Conor Benn's a great guy. And I wish him the best. I just want him to do well.
Absolutely, man. And then there's another one that's not officially booked yet, but I feel like so many people believe it's going to happen. AJ and Tyson Fury. I think it'd be kind of shocking if that doesn't end up happening down the road. How do you think that fight would play out if it does come to fruition?
I have to back my boy. I have to back AJ. And I do believe he's capable of getting the job done. Don't write him off. He's a dangerous man. But Fury's still good. Don't write him off.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, it's a very good fight. It's a good fight, but I have to back my guy.
Absolutely, man. Well, there's one final question I was like wrapping up every interview with, and let's talk about your legacy, because at some point down the road, you're going to retire from boxing, step away from the sport. And when that day does come, what is it that you want to be remembered for? What do you want people to remember Jeamie TKV for?
Obviously for boxing, but
fair enough.
You know what? Yeah, just boxing. He fought everyone. Let's put it that way. He fought everyone, had good fights. That's it.
Absolutely, man. Well, Jeamie, I appreciate your time to come on today, man. I'm looking forward to see what God's got in store for you, especially in that rematch, and best of luck out there, man.
Thank you very much.
Of course, man. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.
Appreciate everybody for tuning into that interview. I have that posted and edited out very shortly here and posted up on my YouTube channel so you guys can watch that separately. I'm going to go on a short break, and I'll see you guys later. Wrap the rest of the show. God bless you guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. Let's try that again. Welcome back, everyone, to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. And what we're going to get into now is the personal segments where I'm going to get into some boxing discussions right now. And there's not too much, I'll be honest. The past 24 hours have been a little bit dry when it comes to boxing content, what's been going down in the boxing world. And I think it's going to be a little bit slow overall this week just because, well, we have quite the fight upcoming this weekend between Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. So that's going to be really the emphasis and the focus of this week. So we'll get into that more, previewing that in the back end of this week, probably Thursday and Friday. But what I do want to get into today is a little bit of stuff discussed with the middleweight division, the 160-pound division. And what came out today was breaking news. Matchroom Boxing has outbid Aegon Sports to win the purse bid for the IBF ordered final eliminator between Emma Williams and Atanosha Iowa. So this fight will be going down in the very near future, and the winner of that will become the mandatory challenger to unified champion Janet Beck. So that's what we have in store for that one. It'll be interesting to see because Emma Williams is a very good fighter. However, we saw him against Hamza Shiraz, and he got beat down. And then Hamza Shiraz could not really compete with Adames because here's what I really want to discuss with the 160 division. It's a very, very odd division in boxing right now, where I feel like there's a massive gap between the champions and everybody else. The only guy really bridging that gap there for a little bit appeared to be Hamza Shiraz, who, well, did not look very good in the Carlos Adames draw / should have been lost. And now Hamza Shiraz doesn't matter. He's up at 168 anyways now. So there's like this massive gap between Adames, Janet Beck, Laura, and everybody else at 160. Now, not saying that none of those guys can be at that point, but just nobody's really earned that shot right up there to be able to be a legitimate title contender. Because the winner of this fight does not really seem like a guy that's going to really challenge Janet Beck. That's why it brings me to this question that what should be happening at 160? I've asked a few guys that have been in the middleweight division over the past couple of weeks what fight they want to see. And everybody's kind of been mixed. Janet Beck and Adames seems to be the primarily asked one, but we also see some Janet Beck and Laura. The point is I think everybody sees Janet Beck as the guy at 160. So why don't we start going for some unifications now? What I think needs to happen by the end of this year is that we have undisputed, or at least early 2026. And that should not be a hard ask for, because at the end of the day, what should happen next is that, well, we know Adames will be fighting very, very shortly, I believe, against, I forget who it was against, but, or no, maybe not scheduled, I guess. I'm not quite sure. Or was he? I'm trying to think now. Who was on the Shakur Stevenson fight? I'm not positive right now, but we should see some unification start to happen. What I really want to see, as I alluded to, was either Adames fighting Janet Beck fighting Laura, Laura fighting Adames. Some form of that combination needs to happen very shortly. And in order for that to occur, we're going to have an undisputed champion, hopefully, at 160. And the only guy I know that can make that happen would be Turki Al-Sheikh. So hopefully that deal gets done, because 160, it's time to start figuring that division out. Time to start getting some legitimate challenges now. It's time to start getting the champions unified, get undisputed possibly. And that's really what I want to look forward to at 160. But that being said, I said there's not a lot of big news going down in boxing right now, so I'm sure the weeks are going to start picking up as we get closer to the Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. fight. I will be giving a deeper preview of that both on Thursday and Friday. But with that being said, though, I appreciate y'all for tuning into today's show. I will see you guys tomorrow. As of now, we'll see what ends up unfolding. I do have 2 shows planned for tomorrow, a boxing show and also a basketball show will be planned for tomorrow. So I will announce those both on my social media within the next 24 hours so you guys can know about that. But I will see you guys tomorrow. May God bless you guys all, and SchuZ is out. See you guys tomorrow.